Give me a few minutes.
You think we can ever do an episode outside?
Yeah.
That'd be pretty cool.
Well, this
Don't
time
think about this sound.
yeah. We want to welcome everybody to another episode of Above Average Black Men. We got a very special guest today, a friend in the wealth of information on various topics. We got a lot to get into today.
Yes, we do.
So you got me, Chris Bender Sr.
Devin Fender here to inspire, uplift the community. That's why we're here.
For sure.
Like, follow, subscribe, share. I just wanted to make sure I got it right this time.
And Herb, you can introduce yourself. So.
Hi, hey everybody. My name is Brockington. Friends with Chris there. This is my first podcast, guys. So be kind to me. I've never done this before, so I'm excited.
Oh, well, we want to welcome you, man. We definitely welcome you to the
Thank
show.
you. Thank you.
You know, we wait for Chris to be here shortly, but I know we got a wealth of stuff to talk about, man. So first I want to start out is since politics is the hot thing in everybody's mind, man, can you explain your role as commissioner in Cheltenham?
All right. So there are 7 commissioners in the township right now. I'm one of 7. My ward is ward number 7, which is on the east side of Cheltenham Township. And as commissioners, we meet the first 3 Wednesdays of the month. Different issues from public works, building and zoning, public safety. Those are sort of the I guess you could say the major things that we have to deal with. Towards the end of the year, we start working on the budget for the following year. And to me, that's probably number 1 in our township right now is the budget, because, you know, taxes are a high item in the township. And what we've tried to do is make sure that the spending that's done in the township is done responsible. We're proud to say that we haven't had a real estate tax increase in the last 3 years. And we're pretty happy with that. I don't know how long we can keep that going because, you know, prices of everything's going up. And every time you want something, you have to pay for it. And, you know, we pay our employees well. They have a really good benefit package, and we want to keep that. We're happy with them. They work hard, especially our public works guy, our police. We have really good police force. We have a great police chief. And, you know, they deserve to be paid well. And so that's just some of the stuff that I do as a commissioner. Those are sort of the major hot topics, but they're small things where someone calls me about, hey, there's a abandoned car on my street. Those are the things we sort of take care of too.
I wasn't going to talk about taxes earlier because being a former school board member, taxes always took mine. But one thing you said, I mean, people don't understand, and we won't get into some other stuff. Like what they don't understand is they want things, but they never figure out that those things have to be paid for.
Yeah.
So because that's the conversation I have all the time. You want better schools, but you don't want to put money into the better school.
Yeah. I mean, everyone from, hey, I want a stop sign. We have to buy that stop sign.
Yeah. And
that stop sign is going to cost money. You know, so every want that you put on your list, you got to put a dollar sign next to it.
Yeah.
And when we're doing our budget, it's sort of what we do. We talk to the heads of every department, and we will ask them, like, can you cut, you know, something, you know, to try to make this budget work. And it's a long process. And this is the thing that's amazing. The budget process, and you would know this, Chris, is open to the public.
Yeah.
You know, and very rarely do we get anyone who wants to attend our budget meetings. I mean, they're not exciting. It's not riveting TV or anything like that. And it can be long and drawn out, but I think it's important that residents sort of kind of know the process. And all that stuff is available online, and, you know, and it's recorded and things like that. And, you know, we're very transparent. One thing that, you know, being in this position maybe 20 years ago, 30 years ago, I don't think that it wasn't a setup where you had to be that transparent. Mm-hmm. Now you have to be, because everything's going to be online. Everybody's going to know what's going on. So you have to be so transparent. And I love the commissioners that I'm working with, because we're all very, very transparent. And we don't try to keep anything. Once we can tell you, we'll let you know, like, right away what's going on.
But I think it's just like politics, though. I think it's funny because, not funny, but funny. It's funny because, you know, people don't want to be involved in the process, but they want to get involved after the process. Probably gonna come this way and get involved after the process. And that's the funny thing about it. It's the same thing in the school board. People don't come to the meetings. You have these meetings and nobody shows up. Yeah. And then as soon as something gets passed, you know, 45 people show up.
Yeah. I tried my best. Like I do town hall meetings just for my ward. Let them know what's going on. And I think, everyone has their hot topic, what they want to talk about. But I would like for more people to get involved when it comes to the budget process so they can see what's going on.
Yeah.
So for the people who may not know you, can you kind of dive a little deeper into your background and what led you to becoming a public servant?
Wow, that's a good one. All right, I grew up in North Philadelphia. North Philadelphia, born and bred.
He loves that.
That's my favorite phrase.
Great start to the story.
Yeah. Great mom and dad. And it's funny, a lot of things I do now, I go, my God, I sound like my dad. I look like my dad. He was truly my hero. So, being there, I have 4 brothers, 1 sister. I was blessed to have this really great household of mom and dad, telling us to do the right thing, teaching us to do the right thing, a very religious household. My dad was a deacon in his church, and my mom was Catholic. So I grew up in a little bit of both, right? I was an altar boy, but I knew gospel music.
That little swag and that little
yeah, so I kind of knew both. If you've ever heard of the Brockington ensemble, that was my uncle. Yeah, that was my dad's younger brother. So gospel music was in our home, but my dad wanted us to have sort of this disciplinarian type education back in that day. So I went to Catholic school. So we were all Catholic. Fast forward, moved here, moved away, moved back, got remarried. And when I came back here the second time to Cheltenham, when I say here, I just wanted to get involved more. I just did not want to be, pay my mortgage and stay in my house, have my cookouts and not get involved. So one of the first things I did was, I'm a baseball guy. I'm a baseball geek.
We're going to talk about that. I was definitely about to go there next. Ask about the baseball.
Yeah, I'm a baseball geek without a doubt. And I remember my wife saying, well, why don't you get involved with the Cheltenham Little League? And I said to her, well, I don't have, I had daughters. I'm like, I don't have any kids in the league. And she goes, well, just ask. And I did. And I ended up coaching. And then I got on the board and I was on this and I was on this committee, that committee. And then I ended up being the president of the league.
Oh, man.
And then I got involved also in called the Planning Commission. I was on the Planning Commission, I think, for 2 or 3 years. And that sort of got me really involved in what was going on in the township, with development coming and, people trying to put a pool in. What do you need to do to get this and things like that. And then someone came to me and said, would you run for office? And I thought it was a joke. And I want to say we shouldn't think that way. That I wish I had done it when I was your age and not at this age. And, I think that when someone comes to you, and I wasn't thinking enough about that, I could do this.
Yeah.
But the first thing I said was, no, I'm not a politician.
Right.
Well, you don't have to be a politician. You can be an elected official. Right. Those are 2 different things. And then I went back to think about my dad. He was the guy, he was the block captain. He was the one who had the apparatus to turn on the water plug. The water plug. You know what I'm talking about, Chris, when I say
call it fire.
Yeah, we call it fire hydrant. We call it water plug. Water plug.
What is that?
Right. Yeah, my dad had that. And he was the guy who organized the street cleaning and all that. And all that came back to me. And I said, why not? I think I can do this. Because my whole thing was, don't be a politician. You can be someone that can serve this township and be available. I don't have all the answers. I didn't have them then. I don't have them now. But it's about serving and being available to people, making yourself I'm just not there on Wednesdays. You have to be out and about. Chris knows you'll see me at just about any event in this township. And to me, that's it. So I went from this little kid. I remember being sworn in. My brothers were there. And my brother hugs me. He goes, "My God, this little kid from North Philly, now you're commissioner in Cheltenham."
Wow.
He said, "Mom and Dad, they shouting up in heaven."
Yeah.
You know, and I'm proud of it. You know, I do it now because I want my daughters to see this, that maybe just the way my dad kind of got in my DNA and I didn't even realize it.
Yeah.
That I'm hoping what I'm doing, what Chris is doing, is in your DNA.
Yeah. Definitely times where I catch myself doing something. I'm like, man, that's my dad.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
I-
littlest things, but like
yeah.
also I feel like a lot of my personality and vision sometimes just little mannerisms and how I talk. I catch myself.
Exactly. I catch myself doing it
Yeah.
all the time like my dad. And so you guys are blessed to be able to sit here with him, be able to feel that love from him. But that's sort of my background in reference to that. You know, I didn't go to school for political science or anything like that. To me, my profession has been finance and working with the banking. And I kind of bring that, what I bring, not the numbers, I bring the customer service. The one thing that in banking, they always talk about customer service. Well, as an elected official, you call me, I need to call you back.
Yeah.
You email me, I need to email you back.
Right.
You know, within 24 hours and not just ignore you and just go, well,
I'm glad you're speaking to that.
you know, and to me, it's about customer service. Because a lot of times, you know, in government, you don't have anywhere else to go. I work for a bank, and if I don't treat you right, you close your account, you go to another bank.
Yeah.
But in government, if I don't treat you right, where do you go?
Yeah.
So my
You
whole
become disengaged.
right, exactly. So my whole thing is when I get an email or when I get a phone call, you know what? I'm trying to get back to that person as soon as possible. I may not have the answer. I may need time to get the answers. So I may call you or email you and say, "Hey, can you give me 48 hours to get an answer to that?" And keep in mind, the answer may not always be the answer that you want to hear. And Chris knows that as being on the school board. Yeah, so that's sort of my background. And, you know, and then all of that, and Chris wants to get into it, that, you know, I'm a dad also. That's the title. That's the title that I enjoy.
But the dad story is different, though. The dad story is different.
The dad story
You
is
are a
different.
widower.
Yes, I am.
Yeah, so that's different than just being a dad. You know, and for me, one of the things I always admired about you was how you balance that. You know, you balance being a dad, then balance being a widower. You know, and I told you I follow you, so I see this stuff with you girls, and they seem to be flourishing.
You know, I'm the one title that I'm most proud about is just being a dad. I have 3 daughters. I have 2 grandkids. Very, very proud of my 3 girls. I you know, my 2 younger ones, their mother passed away 8 years ago. And yeah, I mean, I don't see, some people say, "Oh, you're a single parent." No, I'm a parent.
Yeah.
I'm just a parent. I don't need the single part. Because Chris, you're here with your wife. Do you call yourself a married parent?
Well, but you know what's funny? It's funny because when we grew up, and you probably saw the same thing, there wasn't such a term.
No,
I was the only one out of all my friends who had a mom and a dad.
Me too.
And I never knew the term single parent.
Yeah.
It wasn't too. That's something that when we got to this era, everybody started throwing it around.
Yeah.
So you know, it was like, wow.
Yeah. I you know, I never, you know, I'm considered myself that. I never felt like that. These my girls had a mom. They had a mom. You know, she's transitioned. She's with the Lord, but they have a mom.
Yeah.
So I never really went down that road of being a single parent. I'm a dad. You know,
I think that's a great point. Like, we live in a society now where they just want to put a label or a title on things, but it kind of, in a way, just doesn't even acknowledge that the other parent exists in a way.
Well,
you know?
yeah.
For me,
Almost seems intentional.
For me, it was a term that was pretty much like a handicap.
Yes,
Because it became a crutch for a lot of our social ills. It became a crutch because, and I tell people when I was growing up, it was mom who came out there, man, with that belt bull. You didn't cross the ground.
But I will say this though, after my wife passed, I did have a newfound respect for that parent who's the only parent.
Yeah.
It is different because if you got 2 parents with 2 cars. You take this kid, I take that kid. It's a little easy. But when you got one and you got one that, you got to be there at 1, you got to be there at 1:30, you know. So I will say that I had a newfound respect for the women and men. I don't think us men get the credit because there's a lot of men out there raising kids by themselves under different or other, you know, any type of circumstance. But I don't think that we get the credit in reference to that. I mean, you hear people on Mother's Day that will say to a single mother, no, on Father's Day will say to a single mother, Happy Father's Day.
Don't go there. That's one of my least favorite things. It is because, and I don't mean it. No, I don't, and I don't mean it in disrespect. But fathers have roles, and I think you kind of diminish it when you do that. Moms do a great job, and I think mom, they do a fantastic job. But there were certain things that my wife gave my daughter I couldn't give her.
Right.
True.
And vice versa.
Right.
And I think that's the part I think that people miss out on. That.
Yeah. And that's the part for me as a dad with daughters that my heart hurts for my daughters, especially my daughter who was 10, who's now 19, that I know that there's stuff that I cannot do for her that her mom would do for her. So if I keep talking about that, I'm going to probably start. You'll see tears roll down my eyes. But seriously, though, that's the thing that hurt me the most. That they're doing well, and you know, therapy is a part of their lives and in my life. But I know that there's a part of their heart that's always going to ache because they will get married, they will have kids, but they won't have their mother to be able to celebrate those wins that they have. You know, that they're going to have. So so there's things that and it's funny. So I'm going to ask you this, Chris. A couple of weeks ago, I was having dinner with my daughters, the 2 of them, and they said to me, Dad, would you treat us different if we were boys?
Most definitely.
I'm going to put that out there.
Most definitely. No, I mean, and I've gotten to this discussion before. You know, I do a lot of stuff with men and parenting, and I hear how it's sexist. It's not, because there are certain dangers that girls go through that boys don't have to go through.
Right.
Very true.
And being a male, you know what I'm talking about.
Right.
You know, we know some of the pitfalls that's out there.
Yes.
That I don't have to worry about that with my son.
Right.
You know, and you just said it. The conversation is different.
The conversation
you know,
is different.
It's totally different.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I think people don't want to recognize that because everybody's trying to simplify things and make everything even Steven, but it's not. You know, when they got 16 years old, I love all my kids, but I felt more to protect my daughter at 16 than them. You know, they boys, they a little rougher, they kind of get it. I'm watching over them, but I got to be extra careful with my daughter.
Yeah.
And it doesn't, she's not weak or anything like that. Females are just in a different mold. Yeah. And guys, and I can tell you this because working with men target females, especially females in certain situations. And you know, more than women to target a guy. A guy will sit there and figure, well, you know what, dad ain't around, she don't have a good man figure, I can home in there, you know what I mean? Or dad ain't paying attention to it. And a woman sitting around thinking, man, oh man, Chris' mom ain't around, so I'm gonna be his next mom. It's different conversations.
Yeah. No, I agree. And it's funny, in raising my daughters, I used to always look at the guys and I would say, like for you, Chris, I would say, you're raising husbands.
Yeah. Yep.
You're not just raising your sons. You're raising husbands and fathers and uncles. Yeah. And grandfathers.
Yep.
That's what you're raising.
What you think? I spoke at the church a couple of weeks ago and I had the same conversation. A lot of people don't get this aspect of it. People don't look at parenting as generational. They look at it as this current thing, the present thing, or maybe past, because they bring their past.
They bring their past.
Yeah, but definitely. They don't look at it as this is generational. That, you know, the things I do to my son is going to impact the generation that comes behind him, possibly behind him. Right. And this thing can be trickle down thing.
They can. I mean, you will see, you know, families who have issues. Yeah. Those issues have gone through several.
Man, I work with kids, and soon I meet the mamas or dad. I know where it came from.
You know where it came from.
It's just that's actually the thought of that is kind of like it's still stuck with me when you're sitting here talking about raising kids and the idea that you're raising husbands, fathers. Because I don't think anybody really thinks about it.
They don't.
No, they don't.
It's definitely like, I'm raising my son in this moment. That's all I care about. and then we wonder why when they grew up and they're these crazy adults.
So I think it depends on.
Yeah,
There's so many.
you said that.
But it's
You
true.
see, it's true.
For one who worked with every property from preschool to prison, it's true. You can connect the dots where you look at a young person and almost see where they possibly going to end up if nothing happens, nobody intervenes.
Right.
If nobody steps in and breaks the cycle, because my norm is what I'm exposed to.
Yeah.
So you may think it's crazy,
Right.
but this is what to Chris's point. I'm exposed to, so that's my norm.
Right. And we started off with talking about how my past with my dad, with your dad,
And my dad.
your dad. So that kind of tells you that if our young men don't have that, they're sort of lost.
Yeah.
They don't have a DNA to say, or they don't have a map.
Look at society.
All right, but they don't have a map to say your dad, Chris, is giving you guys a map, and boom. And then if you don't have that map, you're lost. You don't know which way to go.
True.
You guys know which way because your dad told you which way to go. My dad told me. I'm trying to do that, even though I have daughters. I'm trying to do that with them and hopefully set them up where if they meet someone and they start to date that person is going to be, oh, well, I can't have that because my dad told me I need to go down this road.
But you've modeled the bar, and I think that's all you can do as a parent is model. You know what the bar is.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong, it wasn't not easy. I mean, you might see some posts, but you don't see the other part.
Talk about it for this
that I don't
Yeah.
because having two daughters, and I'm a guy, so there's things that I may not be saying right. I have to watch what I say.
I understand.
I have to be sensitive to the fact of that, and it was a learning process. And then at the same time, I'm grieving because a wife that I had for 20 plus years is gone. So I had to grieve, but I also had to parent. So I had to sort of make sure that I had my mental state and the therapy to make sure that I could deal with that. But I also had to raise that. I couldn't just stop. I had a 10-year-old.
Like, how did you manage and cope with dealing with all of that?
I had a 10-year-old. Prayer, my brother.
I think that's the
Prayer.
strength that's not often talked about when it comes to African American males, unless it's used the wrong way, with the crime or something crazy.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of guys like you
Yeah.
who step up to the plate, not because they wanted to, but because they were thrust into their role, and they didn't have time to take time off.
Yeah.
So I think that's the part that I told you that we were talking before the camera came on, that I admire that you were able to do that. And even though you say people didn't see a lot, but that takes courage too, to be able to flip that face and go out in the public and say, I got to do this and still do my job.
Because what's funny is that all that happened almost at the same time. When I won my first election, it was in November, and my wife passed in December, a month later.
I remember.
So she didn't even see me get sworn in January. So at the time where my life changed, my daughter's life changed, where I needed to be the dad, now I'm a new commissioner. So I bring in all this other stuff. But oddly enough, though, it's funny because I was going to pull out of the race. And my wife, Teresa, said to me, I don't want you to pull out. She said, just make a promise that you'll win. She said, because when this is all done, I need something to keep you busy. I'm like, having those two girls would have kept me busy enough, though. But it was actually a conversation her and I had.
But she was smart because she knew those girls were going to occupy a lot of things, but they weren't going to occupy you mentally.
That's true.
They were, emotionally, but mentally, your brain, because, my wife and I, we're going on 39 years. I say 40. When I say 40, she looks at me like I'm trying to rush it.
Turn around.
I say it because when you spend 20 plus years with somebody, you almost forget what it's like not to be with them.
Yeah, definitely.
You do. You forget what it's like, and sometimes you take it for granted. But so I can't imagine what it would be like. Suddenly you got to do this whole about face, but you got to keep going. So that took courage. That not only did you keep going with your daughters, but you had to keep going. You had to be a cheerleader. You had to be part therapist. Now you got a whole township which is, I can say that I'm in school, but it's not always easy to deal with.
He said that. I didn't say that. I love you guys. I love my Ward 7 people.
I can say it now, but it's not. And then that's taking on a whole other set of problems. And just listen to you get back to people in 24 hours, 48 hours. You care about your constituents, the people you serve.
I do.
But that's a whole nother mental burden.
Yeah.
I think that I'm gonna go back to North Philly. It was my mom and
I
dad.
love that. You got the right person.
I gotta go back to that
My
though,
roots.
because I gotta go back to my roots because I had two parents who always do the right thing. My dad used to have this thing where, like, if I went out with my friends, we were going to go hang out, he would say to me, hey, listen, when you leave out of here, the Brockington name is clean. Don't bring it back with mud on it.
That's something like I feel like my parents said to me.
And he would say that. So, and I think a lot of when that all happened, I actually had to say, have those conversations with myself, have those conversations with God, like, to give me the strength.
It's an Philly thing, because my father said the same thing to me. He said, son, I don't have anything else to give you but my last name. Yo,
Right.
don't go out there, mess it up.
Don't mess it up. That must have been a North Philly thing, because my dad would say that all the time, and he would, like, people know the Brockington ensemble, so you cannot hide from that, or anything like that. And I didn't want to, and I think that, and the issue with raising my girls, I made a promise. One of the last conversations, not to give them, was I will take care of our girls. I'm their dad. I'm supposed to. I'm not asking for an award.
Right.
I'm not asking for a medal.
So now I got to get on my father's head.
I'm a dad, and that's what I'm supposed to do.
Yeah, you are. But I don't think it's a question of asking for a medal, asking for an award. I just think around all the negative attention that negative dads get, I think society needs to start acknowledging that there's more good dads than bad dads.
Yeah.
Well, I think
that's so my whole thing is not about getting an award, but it needs to acknowledge the fact that, because society will tell you all the stats about the fatherless homes and things, they run it down to you. Everybody knows that stat, but nobody talks about the dads who knock it out the box.
But my acknowledgement is when my girls do well.
Yeah.
My youngest daughter finished her first year at Pitt, did really, really well, made honor roll both semesters. I'm really happy with that. And to me, that's my reward. That's my reward right there.
But it's bigger than that, because people, there's young black boys out, even in Cheltenham, who don't have a dad, who are watching you, who are fighting excuses that society gives them to quit, to do wrong things,
right.
And they're paying attention. So when they see guys like you overcome stuff and beat the odds, it gives them, okay, I don't have to be a knucklehead.
Yeah.
I can, it's not going to be easy,
right.
but look, what I'm going through has been nothing what he went through, so I can do this thing.
See, I think too, Chris, is that at this point for me, I'm the OG.
I get that everywhere I go.
Yeah, we're the OGs. We're the OGs. And I think that generation that we're saying, it's a little lost, are going to listen to your sons. They will probably listen to these two young men before they listen to you and I, because we're the OGs. And they feel as though we're so far from it that we may not understand them. But these two young men, they'll be like, okay, you just got from there. So they might listen to them a little bit more.
I beg to differ. As one who work with kids, they watch us more than they listen to us.
They watch us.
They pay attention to us.
Yeah.
They see the difference. I think the advantage this generation has is they can walk into a group of kids and talk to them. They connect right away.
Right.
That us is a little different. They watch.
That's what I'm.
What they do after they listen to you and they realize that you're for real, that you're legit. Then you connect with them. It takes me a little longer.
Get their respect.
Yeah, it takes me a little longer because I am older. But they do connect because they're not used to guys like you and I coming in.
Yeah.
And investing in somebody else for no reason.
Like the one thing that I wouldn't like, someone said to me, I want to think like I didn't wear the suit and tie and things like that. I don't want to be dressed like that. because then I may set up a little barrier.
Yeah, that is true.
Man, I do it all. I see it all the time.
I may set a barrier up because now all of a sudden they're looking at me like I'm the principal.
You know what broke me out of that? I was in a high school. Man, I hate to say how long ago. But about I think it's about 35 years ago, I was in high school, and I had a suit on. And the guy said, "Oh man, you cleaning the board out?" You remember the saying he said?
Yeah.
He says, "Man, he says the only time we see suits is at weddings, funerals, and when we go to court."
Yep. Yeah.
And ever since then, I got stopped wearing suits too because in their mindset, that's the only three things they equated to: weddings, funerals, and go to court. You don't know why wear no suit all the time.
Yeah. I'm like, how do we change that?
Yeah.
Well, you change it now because you got to take them different places. You got to show them different things. You gotta take them places like, I started going to rites of passage. That's why I do the career days. The career days, you bring people in who may not be dressed in a suit and tie, but they explain to them like, "Yo, this is what I do. This is how I got here, and this is the path that you take." Suit and tie is not bad.
No, it's not a bad thing.
But you got to remember that started by people who didn't have suit and ties, so they made it a bad thing.
Right.
I don't, because I knew cats I grew up with. Yeah, you never had a suit on. That's why you talking about it's corny and everything else. But guys with suits weren't calling it corny.
Right. I mean, I went to Catholic school for 12 years. I wore a shirt and tie, and in high school it was a shirt, tie, and a blazer every day.
Man,
Every day.
I thought I was a Mormon growing up, man.
Yeah, every day.
I always go to Playhouse in the Park.
Yeah.
Playhouse in the Park. My mom and them would take us, we saw Pearlie, we saw
Pearlie's coming back out. You know that.
Yeah, they look at me like, I saw all them things.
That's coming back out.
Yeah, you laughing, but when I got to high school, I used it. Everybody was, and I didn't have to pay attention. But we saw, Macbeth and all those things. Well, we always had to wear a white shirt. And my mother was a teacher, so all our shirts have to have pockets. We could not wear, we had to have pockets, man. That's why I hate pockets on my shirts now.
What's the pockets for?
But
for your pens.
All the shirts are made like that back then. They were considered dress shirts. It was a certain standard. Like back then in public school, your shirt had to have a pocket.
What?
Yeah, you couldn't wear shorts that was above you. Yeah, remember that?
My high school, I went to all Catholic boys high school.
Yours is worse than ours.
And so it was white shirts every day. Yeah, for 4 years.
But those are the things that this generation missed. So back to what I was saying about that's the standard they don't have. Yeah. So they'll watch you. It's like I'm doing a lot of stuff in restorative circles. And the first session is usually always kind of tricky, because we trying to fill each other out. But after a while, look, they know I'm for real.
Yeah, I think once they gain your trust and they know that you're for real.
Yeah.
And I think then it's different. But, I know like if I do something with the township, like with the school district, I walk in. Now I might know some of the kids because of baseball, and I coach baseball at Seabrook and things like that. But I'm the OG.
Yeah.
It don't matter, man.
I was going to ask you that if you still coach baseball and like you kind of.
I do.
Use that as almost like a mentor.
I do. I still coach baseball. As a matter of fact, tonight I actually had to cancel. I would have been over at Cheltenham Little League, and I wasn't here tonight.
Oh man, do you help out at the high school at all too, or is it just
Little League and at Cedarbrook? I help out.
I miss it. I used to coach, and I used to play college ball, baseball and basketball. I miss it, but the kids just different.
That's what the kids may be different, but the game is the same.
Yeah, I love the game.
It's still 90 feet. So I might coach a little. I'm an OG, so I'm gonna coach old school.
Yeah.
The coach the way I know that the way I was coached. But I still love it.
What age group is it?
Mostly 7th grade, 8th grade.
Okay. I can't coach where I used to coach, man. What told me it was over when I was coaching Devon's basketball game one time. We were playing, and I don't scream at kids, but I raise my voice a lot. And this kid started crying, man. Remember that kid started crying? We played it. I was like, "Yo, dude!" And I said, "Okay, I can't do this." And the mom came, "Well, he said, yo,
they were 6.
Sports, sensitive." Nah, he was like a young teenager.
I know.
So that and the fact that I'm a fundamental guy. I think if you learn the fundamentals, you can play this game. Yeah. But these kids, man, they all want to swing for the fence, man, and nobody wants to cut off, man. Well, now I'm talking baseball.
Do you have a lot of kids that play? Like,
are you still getting a big turnout for it?
Yeah.
Because Philly is struggling.
Well, the Little League program is going pretty well.
Oh, okay.
And Cedarbrook, they get 12, 14 kids go out. They have a 7th grade and an 8th grade.
But Philly is really struggling. Cause back in the day when we were growing up, baseball fields were all over the place.
Yeah, well,
Yeah, now they can't.
I'm going to go on my and say I blame Major League Baseball. When Michael Jordan came out and made basketball this cool, sexy sport.
Yeah.
Baseball never followed that, especially in the Black and brown communities.
Yeah.
And I mean, come on, you go to Puerto Rico, you go to Venezuela, Dominican baseball is so big.
Yeah, Japan.
In Japan,
Yeah,
right?
All everywhere.
Right. But in the Black community, when basketball just took off, baseball just kind of sat there and kind of ignored the Black community. So if you had a kid who was maybe a good baseball player, I'm gonna go basketball. You know why? The gym's gonna be full. And I always say this: if you're in high school,
I was about to say that.
If you're in high school and your basketball team is 0-12, the gym might still be full on Friday night.
Yeah.
If your baseball team is 12-0, it ain't nobody be there but your mom. The mom's in the deck.
Let me tell you something. I'm not gonna lie because look, I was doing baseball and we were good, but you play to relatives,
Mom and dad,
and the older guys. The old baseball guys would come hang out. You didn't get the crowds.
No.
Basketball, everybody know who you are in basketball. Everybody, everywhere you go. So it was a different draw, but at least back then, there were plenty of fields. Now you don't even see all the fields.
But even with the baseball,
Remember
just thinking back, I wanted to talk about King Griffey Jr. was kind of around that time, wasn't he? Like when he was.
But
I guess that was like Penny. That was
but they weren't pushing it like Michael Jordan.
Right,
So Michael Jordan,
it was MLB did not push it.
Yeah,
They should have.
Especially with the stars they had.
It was towards the end of the career when they realized this kid is cool. You know how many people were the purists of baseball were probably upset with him wearing his hat
backwards.
Yeah.
And he was only doing like batting practice and things like that. The baseball purists didn't like that. And he was a kid. He was a kid. And the MLB should have hopped on that.
Mm-hmm.
They should have hopped on that. They should have made shirts. They should have had backward hat day. They could have hopped on that in the community.
But you got to have an imagination. Whoever, those folks concerning Michael Jordan, man, you got to admit they were creative. They were before.
But it just took basketball to another level.
Yeah, but I think baseball didn't have that kind of personality. They didn't have that kind of, like football was the same way. Football used to have, you got these rigid guys, these old school guys who think it's still, it wasn't until guys, came along like Jerry Jones. These guys start thinking about branding, all the different things.
Yeah.
Football just thought we gonna keep running this product out there.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. No, I agree. So the baseball thing, I think is still doing well here at Cheltenham. The high school team did okay this year. The football team did okay. I'm just glad to see the kids that are just getting involved in sports. They have a great soccer program over there. My daughter did soccer for 4 years over there. So I'm proud of our school district. They're getting ready to do a rebranding. Speaking about rebranding, I think our school district doesn't get the credit that it does. If something bad happens, it's all over Facebook. Of course. But if something good happens, nothing is said.
I think for so long, Cheltenham, from the time we came out here in '98, it was a basketball community. You would go to the gym, girls and boys, would be jam packed and crowded.
Especially the girls. The girls
everybody would be there.
Yeah.
And then when the lean years happened in basketball, nothing else got notoriety. Everybody just kind of fell off.
Yeah. Yeah, they did. The girls did really well in a couple of state championships and stuff like that. And the football team was always just sort of.
The boys basketball team was our suburban one all the time.
Yeah.
So you would go to gym on Friday nights, man. You couldn't move in there. Yeah. Boys or girls, everybody was in there. Everybody, politicians, the gym be jam packed.
Yeah. And I think it's going to get back to that. I think the football team's going to do well this year. They have a really good coach.
He was on the show. On the show.
Oh, you had to go. Yeah. So I really think he's going to do a lot of good things. Those guys are pumping iron. They're working out right now.
Yeah, he's building men. That's what I really like.
And that's what I think. I love what you just said. That he's just not having a football team and a bunch of athletes. He's building fathers. He's building uncles. He's building wives, husbands. He's building that right now.
When I was in 9th grade, I was really good in sports, and my father saw I was getting college. He said, so what he said was, every year, twice a year, we had sports. before and after. And he said, I want you to look around the locker room. And every the end of the year we had a conversation. He said, you see how the faces change? I said, yeah. He says, you know what? He says, because of the higher you go into competition, the more people are going to drop off.
Right.
He said, someday you're going to play your last game, and then maybe before you think it is.
Yeah.
And I never forgot that, man. He was like, hey, and he was right. You start looking around every level you go to. You remember people who used to play with you, and then some people like were better than you, and they like disappear. So I think that's the reality check that I like that Grove and some coaches are doing now. That is more about, it's more, if you're good and you make it, you still got to be personal character.
Right.
Well, I think the one thing too that kind of helped hurt baseball a little bit was that everybody got into these travel teams.
Yeah.
I read an
It's
article.
like the AAU coaches.
It's like AAU, but it's very expensive.
Mhm.
And
Yes.
who was it? It was the left fielder that the Phillies had, and now he's back with the Pirates. I can't think of his name. McCutcheon.
Mm.
Read an article, and he said that he would not be in MLB. There was some type of special team that he wanted to play on, but his parents couldn't afford it. His mom couldn't afford it, and this guy paid for him. And by him going to that particular camp or whatever, it actually led to him being in MLB. And he said he probably was not the best kid in his neighborhood. He just had the opportunity to be seen.
Well, the American Legion, when we were growing up,
It was American Legion, right?
You had to pay the fee.
Right.
And if you couldn't pay the fee, you couldn't play.
You couldn't play.
I mean, that's definitely a big problem with baseball. And people that look like us to participate is that we kind of priced out. And if you want to play against the top tier competition,
right.
all the equipment that you had to buy to actually
But I
play.
remember the Phillies used to invite you. They had trials right there, third grade and off.
They did.
Yeah,
Actually, I went there.
Yeah, I did too. I got invited to a trial there, right there
Yeah.
in third grade and off, and that vanished.
Yes.
But they have a third grade and off. But I mean, baseball did start pricing out because especially when they went from wood bats to aluminum bats. Because I was in high school when they made that transition, man, and I remember going to places, like I go where they're all gone now, sporting, getting a bat. And then when they switched over to aluminum bats, the price went up like 3 times.
Yeah, I mean, I remember talking to some parents about that, and they were getting kids like, a $300 bat.
Yeah.
I said, you can have a $300 bat with a $20 swing.
Yeah. But that was a big shift, man. Because because you used to get wooden bats, man. You spend like $25, $30.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, the aluminum came out. I think they started like $75, $80.
Yeah.
And every parent couldn't afford that.
Their price. There's so many now. Their price is a little lower now.
Because of competition.
But you still see them right through college. I was watching the College World Series, and they still use them.
You can't use them in college, can you?
I guess you probably can, but most of them want to use that.
You gotta want to do it.
Some leagues can use wood because they said wood breaking is there. They were saying it breaks.
But then as soon as you go to
pros, that's what you got to use.
You're in single A ball.
Yeah.
And you're used to using an aluminum bat.
You can't get the ball
Now all of a sudden,
because I played in a semi-pro league and we could not use wooden bats.
Yeah.
And I hated it. Nobody could ever do them because they said they break and they splinter. The bat come off and fly all over the place.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, that's part of the game.
Part of the game.
So it's like, what can we do to kind of turn around that perspective of like getting people that look like us to participate? Yeah, because I grew up playing baseball and kind of tailed off because basketball was more appealing. I felt like more of my friends were playing that.
And
like,
I think
there wasn't too many people like me.
Right.
Like, kind of get there and it's like,
well, if you think about like where I grew up in North Philly, it's funny. I didn't play on grass until I was probably in 5th or 6th grade. I think 5th grade. So we played baseball in the schoolyard
on
concrete. You won't see that too much now.
No.
They'll play basketball on concrete.
Parents playing with you.
So
that was our arena.
Right, exactly. I remember playing on grass for the first time. You couldn't tell me I was a professional baseball player at that point. And it was out at 33rd and Diamond.
Yeah, I was 8 years old when I played in 10-12 and
Yeah.
Because we played on concrete.
Yeah, we played on concrete.
So when I got on grass, it was like I had a vacuum cleaner. Because concrete, and we had the concrete back in the day when the rock was in it. Remember the rock was in it? Stick up in the concrete so the wall looked like it's coming off. So that thing take off.
I'm really going to age myself. I remember we thought it was cool because we were being, the public school. And once a year, right before the school went out, the janitor would come out and repaint the bases.
Oh man.
Yeah.
So at that point, we were like, "Oh my God, this is great! We got a new field."
Yeah.
They just
Yep.
put some white bait down on the
Yep.
4 bases in the pitcher's mound,
Yep.
and we were good for the summer, and that's
Yeah.
all we did. We played baseball all summer.
But it had those rocks in the concrete, so
Oh.
the ball would hit those and shoot up. Yeah, man.
Yeah, definitely. So
How
we're
you
playing.
find all these people to play with y'all?
Yeah.
Because it was different back then. See, another thing, though, we played all
A lot of
sports.
people play.
Yeah,
We played all
we-
sports.
yeah, you
Now
played.
basketball is year round.
Yeah, I mean, we played
Yeah.
baseball. Then in the fall, we went to
Football, basketball. But now,
right.
now you do
Right.
like I tell I say it all the time. We were growing up, nobody was playing the gym in the summertime basketball. in
no,
the
the
gym.
gyms were shut down and we
Yeah.
played outside.
If you got a summer league, yeah,
Right.
and the
Yeah.
summer league was typically very competitive.
Yeah.
But I mean, it just wasn't. We played all the sports. We played baseball. Heck, we played all the sports in one day sometimes.
I mean, even
all
though
the
that's
time.
too is not
Yeah,
too
yeah.
enticing at times. Is like the positions. Like I felt like I was fortunate and able enough where I could pitch. You know what I mean? I was taught that, but I feel like definitely when I started going to high school, they got me doing things that I feel like I wasn't like. I'm not a designated like runner. Like I'm not stealing bases. I'm not blazing fast. Or like they put me in outfield, center field, like places that I felt like I didn't necessarily want to be.
Well,
Where my right, like
you know
what?
what?
I'm like I want
Right,
to pitch. I just
so-
want to do that. Like, but they got you.
a lot of times,
That doesn't
and
turn
I'm
me
gonna
on.
get a little controversial right here. Sometimes what happens with our kids, we're pigeon-toed into you can't play shortstop because you're not smart enough to play shortstop. So we'll put you in center field because you're fast and athletic, and I need someone smart on shortstop.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
you
I
know,
played-
like I was a
yeah.
catcher,
Yeah.
you know, and mainly because I was a fat guy.
I played shortstop.
There's again the stereotype.
I played
Yeah.
shortstop, but it's true. I played shortstop in center field. I remember the first time I played for a white coach, and I walked up and he said, he's how old are you? How much you weigh? He said, man, you an outfielder. I'm
Yeah.
like, what? Because I had, I guess I had the right weight and height, and I was sort of like a greyhound. Yeah, I mean, I was good, but he didn't give me a chance to play shortstop.
Yeah.
I didn't get a chance to play
Yeah.
shortstop. I just, and then it was funny because he saw me in the summer league and the team I was playing on, it was a travel team. The shortstop got hurt, so I had to play shortstop. And he was like, well, why you never told me? I told you the first time I came out.
They have it to me in the power.
Yeah, he was like, wait a minute, I never knew.
I know, I'm
Yeah.
here. And
Yeah,
okay,
I'm
Park
not
Trevor.
surprised.
Yeah.
I was shocked. Like, so
Yeah.
now by my weight and my height, what I can play.
Yeah, I've seen it happen with a lot of
I never
kids,
saw
our
it
kids, that they should be playing a position, they should be pitching, or they should be this, and I'll put you in outfield.
Yeah.
I'll put you in center because you're fast and you can cover both.
Yeah.
Well, I might be better at shortstop and make your team better at shortstop, but now they can put you in the outfield. Yeah, I see.
So how do you round all this out, man? Because you like the Renaissance man.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
talked about banking for
How you
loan,
in
you're
boards,
in
you
politics,
do
you're
loans,
in
you do
boards,
accounts.
you're a dad, you got, how do you like
he said, how do I find time for myself?
Yeah.
Honestly, I actually enjoy what I do. There's not too many moments where I'm like, I actually enjoy it. I try to take every moment and enjoy it. Even some of the stuff that's kind of, you get those phone calls from residents or emails, and you count to 10 before you answer. But that's what back to customer service again.
But I think
And I don't take any of it, like the person's attacking me. Most of the time, it's just an issue that they want. I do find some time for myself sometimes, but this is the odd part, is that like being over at Cheltenham Little League or, coaching a baseball game, that's sort of my downtime. I kind of enjoy that. Now, I do miss, the one thing I miss, my youngest daughter was an avid soccer player, and that was my downtime.
Mm-hmm.
She played soccer 10 months a year, and, we would do travel, and I enjoyed that, and I have another daughter who's a chef. I have to shout her out, Lauren, who's a chef. She worked for the Phillies.
Okay.
So I can go to the Phillies game. And, and
we were just talking about we got to
Did you raise her for that?
Yeah.
we were just talking about that. We just talking about that.
no, she's a really good.
Where-
That was something that she fell in love with, just cooking.
Oh man, that's
Yeah.
cool.
We were just talking about that, how we got to pick some games to go to, man. We go to a couple of
We
years.
gotta make it out to some issue.
Yeah, I mean, it's enjoyable going out there. So
Yeah, I love
doing stuff like that is sort of, my downtime. I foster puppies. I have I work with this organization in media, and I foster puppies. Right now, I actually own 2 dogs.
You in his wheelhouse.
I was like, yo, puppies? Like, what is it? A specific breed? All
No, they
types of
usually are
dogs?
mixed breeds.
Okay.
And, we've done about 8 to 10. The last puppy that I went to foster, I ended up adopting. So I ended up keeping
I'm on
her.
the fence, man.
But
I'm a dog my whole life.
so so some of those things are enjoyable to me. That I work my job that I do because we don't get paid a lot as commissioner.
Yeah.
I won't get into that. It's like there's a part-time salary on a full-time job.
Part-time salary.
It's like a school board, full-time job with no salary.
With no salary, right? But one of my passions is helping people become first-time home buyers. I won't on this thing. I won't talk about who I work for, but that's a passion of mine. So I do a lot of first-time home buyer workshops. To help people to educate them on what they need to do to become a homeowner, and that's sort of a passion of mine, and that's what I do professionally. What do I do in downtime? I don't know. What do I do in downtime? I don't know if I have any. I don't know if there's anything. I guess have some fun with my grandkids. But
even just talking about coaching a little bit kind of makes me want to get back to that because it was a way to have some downtime. It was enjoyable.
It is
seeing kids get better.
And
not even just within the sport, just maturing.
Yeah.
In general, like
there were times where my goal for one kid was before the end of the season, you're going to be able to catch and throw.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
And that's what, maybe now you don't, but I'm not worrying about you hitting a home run, or that you go up the bat and you're not going to be afraid, you're not going to be jumping out, and that you're going to swing the bat. Maybe that's the goal.
You are old school because I was brought up the same way. You teach them how to make contact.
Right.
Get used to making contact.
Right.
Now you dig right away. Put the bat back here, man. So let me ask you a question.
Mm-hmm.
I cannot shake this. Whenever the seasons change and I smell grass, I get the itch for baseball. You know that? I smell when you smell the first fresh cut of grass. It's like I'm thinking baseball.
Let me tell you, I'm actually thinking about going back to playing senior baseball. There's leagues right now for 15 over.
Hardball.
Hardball. And I had stopped playing because my daughter was doing so much soccer. So, what helps me is that I get to go out there and throw the ball. Yeah. Even if I'm just like playing catch with a kid, or I'm hitting ground ball and I'm hitting fungos, that's something that I get that itch, and I love it. You should come out and do that. I'm gonna have to get you out there.
I do want to coach.
I was thinking about coaching.
I do. I wouldn't mind helping.
But if you came out just to grab your glove, start throwing the ball, hitting stuff like that, you would just feel.
But see, for me, the coaching part will come out because I hate to see people who don't play the right way.
Can I throw some BT?
I hate to see people. I hate to see people who don't play the right way. So that thing.
Well, the thing is,
always comes in.
It's right now. You do have to coach a little different. I have to coach a little different, especially in the township. I don't want someone to say, Commissioner Herb just yelled at my kid. It won't be Coach Herb. It'll be Commissioner Herb just yelled at my kid.
It's funny. Just invite me out. I come out.
So I want to tell you a story. If this is for the baseball people out there, if you don't know baseball, you won't like this story. I had a kid, and I have signs. And when they get a certain age, I give kids we're going to do signs. We have a take sign. So this kid does 3 balls and 2 strikes. I said, come on, keep your eye on the ball. Let's go. Right down the middle. Call 3rd strike. So in between innings, I said, why'd you let that pitch go by? He goes, Coach, I was sure you gave me the take sign.
Why would I do that?
Well, at least he was obedient.
I said, I didn't give you any signs.
That means
but when with something like that, you have to laugh though. And I think me coaching 10 years ago, I probably would have went off. I would have done like what you say, how we used to coach. So you do have to coach it a little bit differently now. There's something called Positive Coaching Alliance, and that's the whole thing about coaching kids and trying to give them some more positivity and teaching. I think kids learn different now, and we had coaches that just yelled at us the whole time, and we learned by, oh my God, the coach
I used
just
to
yelled.
wait for one coach, right? It's 2 things he did One was both probably be cruelty right now.
Right.
I learned how to play the outfield because he would call me and then smash it over my head.
Right.
So people say, well, how did you get in the outfield? That's how I learned. And he was
Right.
on the pitcher's mound. He
Right.
wouldn't be back in the, he would be on the pitcher's mound
Right.
with a fungo. Like you cheating every way you can imagine. But one thing he would do, he would yell. So it was a guy, I'm not going to say his name because we were watching, that played center field. He would always come off the field by right field. So he would have to come as the coach. He would like go all the way around that way to come back. And that's like you still got to come over here.
Yeah. But there is, and I think that it's actually made me sort of a better coach where I'm just not yelling. I'm more in a teaching mode because baseball is a game of mistakes.
Yes, it is.
You know, so you have to really teach kids how to overcome those mistakes. And if you're going to yell and they strike out and they go back on the field, then they're going to be standing there thinking about what happened.
Well, I don't yell at them for making mistakes. I'm just a screamer. Like, no, you get over there, you move there, you move there. That's the part, but you got to do that differently. To your point, you got to do that differently. You can't say, hey, Earl, get over there, because then you holler at my kid like that.
Right. So you got to, you definitely have to coach a little different. I had a coach I remember on tryouts, and this was North Philly. I don't know if you remember St. Elizabeth. It was a school we played. I played there. St. Eats, right? And was going to try out. And then during those times, everybody didn't make the team. You actually had to try out.
Boy, all that 18 beat team stuff. You got cut.
You got cut.
You got cut.
And I never forget this. And he just broke this kid down because he said to the kid, "So where'd you get that glove? That it was hard. Tell your parents to keep the receipt." and take that glove back.
They can return that.
But I know I had coaches say, "You just not good." But I've had coaches say, "You just to other players, you just not good enough."
Yeah.
And I'd be like, "Yo, how you say that to a kid?"
Yeah.
So he was saying to me, I was thankful.
But I think some of that, it's I'm happy sort of it's not like that.
Yeah.
Because baseball is hard enough getting kids to play it.
Right.
And if you're going to sort of beat a kid up and send them home, and sometimes I've seen kids get that done whipped by their parents.
Yeah.
So they don't need that. I've seen kids strike out, head down, dad grabs them, walks to the car, fussing at them all the way. Well, then they're going to get it. They don't need it from their coach. Right. And once you get to a certain age, you made a mistake. You know you missed the ball.
And pros strike out.
And pros strike out.
But I also think the other thing about baseball is that people don't play anymore because it's a thinking man's game. A
lot of moving parts.
People used to laugh because in the foot race, I probably lost half my neighborhood. But I was probably the best center field runner because I knew angles. Right. I knew to chase the ball on an angle, not run straight at the ball. I knew people, little stuff. I watch the top of the trees and see if the trees is blowing out. So I know the way the ball is going to go. I can't break in. I would throw grass in the air. You learn all those tricks. When you really understand the game, I would watch people back. No, but I would watch people back. Yeah. And I would say, his foot is that way. The ball's going that way. If you pull the ball, it's going to pop up. You learn those little tricks. And
it's funny, as a catcher, I think that made me really a good coach. I can look at how kids batting and look at their feet. Yep. They foul off the ball. Like when my left fielder over, like, come on, put it over. Because I can tell from just the way they're standing. So I do enjoy it.
To me, that's the best part of the game.
It is.
The thing, like I used to tell everybody, like, if the right-handed batter and his foot is in the bucket, he's not gonna pull it unless he Hercules. He's not gonna pull the ball with power. The ball's gonna always go, and even the power is gonna be up in the air.
Yeah, and I mean, and so many times, especially in Little League, I've tried to tell coaches they put their worst player in right field. And I'm like, stop doing that because most kids hit the ball to center and to right. When they're younger, they're not pulling the ball.
Yep.
And you're putting that player, you're sending them up for failure if you're going to put them there because everybody's going to go, and
because he's going to get more balls.
Yeah, or stop batting that kid last. Stop doing that because, like, I had one dad. Oh, my kid's a leadoff hitter. I said, well, you only lead off once.
Yeah.
Sure. Because during the game, you can come up at any point. Right. And, give that kid confidence that you always bat last. Bat him first one game, and he'll be like, "Ooh, coach trusts me."
Well, people think they think it's a especially if you never played the game,
Mm-hmm.
you think being lead off is glorious. I hated it because you never get to see what the pitcher has.
No.
You the first guy. So other than warm-ups, you have no idea what this dude is. And I used to tell, I hated it. Like it was funny because most people know me, I used to bunt a lot. Because I knew I'm getting the fastball in the first 2 pitches. But you don't know what the guys. So people say, yeah, you want to be leadoff hitter, but you blind.
So let me ask you this. I know you're a baseball guy.
Yeah.
Baseball?
No.
I mean, I don't watch it as much. Like I said, I used to play up until high school, like 11th grade, and I just like.
See, I find that surprising. My dad was a baseball guy, and he was older, and he grew up in the Jackie Robinson era.
Mm-hmm.
So much so, we would only go see the Phillies when the Dodgers were in.
Oh.
I didn't get to see Jackie play.
Yeah.
But I remember asking my dad, like, why do we only go to the Phillies when the Dodgers in town? If you talk to any men of that generation, and if you saw 42, you would know why you don't go to.
They played baseball, but the difference was they were raised out here. I was raised in the city. So I grew up, we played baseball. It was nothing for us to get 9 guys or 18 guys and play in the schoolyard.
Let me ask you this, Chris. When you got a little bit older, did you guys play different neighborhoods? Did you go?
Yeah, we did all the time.
Yeah, we would grab guys and we would
Team,
walk.
go travel,
And we would,
baseball.
that was the original travel
Did you
team.
play with the black tape hardball?
What's that?
The black tape
Oh, the
hardball?
black tape, the shiny black tape
put
hardball?
that on a hardball.
Because the stitches would the stitches would get beat up.
Because you played on concrete.
You played on concrete, so you just wrapped the ball with black tape, but it was shiny black tape or was the sticky black tape.
Yeah, and that jump.
Right. Yeah, of course.
Oh,
Of course.
man.
What about this, Chris? Is this a half ball?
Yeah, half ball. Yeah.
You guys know what half ball is?
Tennis ball? Like the tennis ball?
Well, no, that was a pimple ball.
Pimple ball.
Y'all have tennis balls, pimple ball. But we used to buy those spongy balls and play fastball. And now we laugh when we talk about it because we wouldn't be that far apart. And we'd be humming that thing down there.
Yeah, but half ball with a stick.
Moon,
With
with mop stick or broomstick. Yeah.
Right.
I've heard of that before. I was close.
Yeah,
we
said we were bored.
we did broomstick and
No, that's
But I think that's where that's what we always had the competitiveness.
But we were always doing something, and it was usually around sports for boys. Even if it was just let's race.
Stick the crate, nail the crate to the telephone pole. Learn how to shoot. Even before we was so dumb, we didn't have a backboard.
We didn't have a backboard.
We shoot this but I learned how to shoot.
We're giving you guys some old school knowledge, right?
But I think another thing that I like about sports in general is that I didn't know at the time, but know it now as you grow up. It teaches you so many more things than just athletics.
It does.
It really, you're talking about teamwork. You're talking about having the ability to work together, and when you get up in different levels, diversity. Because everybody on your team is not like you, and it just teaches you so many things. I learned my leadership skills playing sports.
Yeah, I think I started coaching CYO basketball. I was really young. I started coaching baseball in the neighborhood, and I was very young. I may have been like 18, 19 years old, and I was coaching baseball. If anything, I think sports teach you how to deal with failure because you're not going to always win. You're definitely not going to always win.
Never learned how to lose, man.
What do you say?
I never learned how to lose, man.
Well, see, now, they don't say that you lose. It's like you win or you learn. That's the new term now.
We'll put it this way.
Is you win or you learn.
If somebody would have gave me a participation trophy, I would have threw it away.
No, we never.
That's how bad I was. I would have
do
it. I was not taking either. I'm winning the chip.
We had 3 trophies at St. E's. You either get a championship trophy, or you got the MVP of your team, or you got sportsmanship.
Yeah, I can do it.
Those were the only trophies.
I was saying.
But the thing about sportsmanship, I don't know.
that.
Yeah, I remember one year I got sportsmanship, and I thought it meant I just wasn't good. Like, yo, this was gonna make me feel good.
You were next to
until my pop explained it to me.
Yeah.
This is me. I'm like, good. I'm like, this man is one of the guys like, yo, man, you don't mind losing his trophy.
You lost with grace.
But when being president of the Little League program, I mean, we did participate. All the kids got trophies, and it was important. I mean, it made the kids, and a lot of times too, especially when you're talking about T-ballers, young kids, it brings them back the next year.
See, I'm cool with T-balls, but when you're 14, 15 years old,
No, we stopped it then. No,
they
normally
shouldn't be 12 teams. You know,
No, we didn't do it. We didn't do it for
I mean,
kids.
because I know
Good.
when I was 8 years old, I had a friend, and he came out and he didn't make the team, but they allowed him to practice. You know, so he can get better, so he can make the team next year.
Right.
You know, they didn't
That's
form a big
okay.
team and say go get 8 of your friends. No, you know, you either on this team or you weren't.
Well,
I
yeah,
think
there
that's
are
cool.
travel A teams and travel B teams.
Yeah.
And,
But now you got
See,
ABC.
well, and I think too is some of it is parents want to be able to say my kid's on a travel team. That's
True.
a big thing for parents to say right now.
Sure, I get that.
Is to say that my kid is on the travel team. Your kid may never play, but he's on the travel. He's on the travel team. You know, so.
So we are a few minutes over, and definitely wanted to give everybody an opportunity to give some closing remarks here. So it definitely was been great talking to you today about a plethora of things, kind of your role as a commission, as well as your experience or background with baseball. I feel like we can continue to talk about all of those things. If you do so many things, like we can have another conversation.
Don't get the puppies.
Oh man, yeah, the puppies. That's a whole other
You go me off guard with the puppies.
Yeah.
But do you have any closing remarks or last words for the people, or anything that we can kind of leave some of our guests with?
First of all, I want to thank you guys for inviting me. This was again my first podcast, and I know I'm going to bug you guys. I need me one of those cool shirts, man. Because
this wasn't planned. We all came through with the same shirt. I was like, man,
I feel like the person
You connected to that.
the singing group, but I didn't get the memo on what the singing group. Like we all and then all of a sudden, I'm not dressed.
Nah, I was sweaty. Remember, Devin was like, "Yeah, when did you work out?" And plus I had this shirt representing something else. I was like, "I'm not wearing that shirt." So I didn't know that Devin walked in. I said, "Okay."
I walked in.
Yeah. But but again, I want to thank you guys. As commissioner of this township, I'm proud. I think we do. This township has a lot on its plate. We're dealing with a lot of old, aging buildings, and it's right now we're having an issue with our pool. But as commissioners, I know that we are trying to keep everything running. We have a great staff. I'm happy to be commissioner. I truly enjoy what I do, and if anybody needs to reach me, I'm going to get back to you. As for my daughters, Kristen, Kayla, Lauren, love my girls so much. Being a dad, there's nothing, almost being a pop-up. I love that. I love being a pop-up too, but can't be that till you're dad.
Yeah.
And I absolutely love my girls. They keep me going. They really, really do. But I thank you guys for, and then the baseball talk. I didn't know we were going to get into baseball that much.
One of the things.
This show goes all over the place.
But that was
Hit
cool.
me up, write me out. I come on.
I am, guys. We're going to get Chris out. We're going to get a camera too, so we can kind of, I want to see him in center field. I'm going to hit you some fun goals out there. In
Give me some warm ups now,
You got to practice a couple weeks in advance.
You've seen the place.
Yeah. So, but no, I definitely want to thank you guys. And this is my first time ever doing a podcast. And hopefully it's not my last. I enjoyed it.
No, we definitely want to have you back.
I definitely enjoy it. And to these young men, just keep doing what you're doing and make your dad proud. I'm sure he's proud of you guys, and you got DNA.
Continue to try.
Young man, I'll take talking to me now.
No, but you got the DNA, and looks like I started off by saying everything goes back to my mom and dad. You know what? You guys are going to end up saying the same thing. It's going to go back. I have no choice. It's in your DNA.
Yes. Well, again, thank you. It's
Thank
been
you, guys.
incredible, and we would love to have you back. For everybody, thank you guys for tuning in, watching Above Average Black Men. We're always here to empower, inspire, and uplift the community. Hopefully, you left inspired today.
Like, follow, subscribe, share, comment,
Yeah.
interact with us. That's Above Average Black Men, A2BM.
I need a T-shirt.
We'll work on that.
All right, alrighty. Thank you, guys.
Take care, everybody. Good night.
Wow.
Thank you.
Thank
you.
That
It's a pleasure.
That was cool.
It was,
That was cool.
I don't even know how you do it.